pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I call this meeting in order. I was supposed to do that first according to my agenda. First, I must announce that we've had a couple of executive sessions, Wednesday, March 2nd, to discuss real estate, and Thursday, March 3rd, to discuss real estate and personnel. We had advertised this originally as a workshop only, but we had an item of business come up, and it is a consideration of approval for Resolution 12-2022. Yeah,
It was advertised as a regular meeting.
okay, so we could take,
So you can take action.
thank you very much. Yes, so we had advertised that we would be sort of annexing the regular meeting at the front of it, authorizing the acquisition of 1525 French Creek Road.
19.
Oh, my dyslexia is back, Bernie. 1925 French Creek Road. Do we want to do a motion? Do we
Yes, please.
then move into a discussion?
Yes.
I would like to recommend a Resolution 12-2022 authorizing the acquisition of 1925 French Creek Road. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, good man. Okay. Any discussion? Any questions?
What are we doing now? We're going over here.
Well, just close enough that everybody can hear you.
Hi, Julia Brandell, 2472 Flowing Springs Road. I didn't see that anywhere before, but I guess my question is, are we purchasing it, and why are we purchasing it?
We're acquiring it.
We're acquiring it.
Acquiring it by whatever means it takes.
Okay,
And we're acquiring it for parkland, for
for property,
recreation.
okay. Disclosure, I'm a realtor. You know that property's under contract?
Yes.
We
Okay,
do know.
you do know that, and does...
We're talking to everybody.
Okay, so everybody knows that that's happening, listing agent, buyer's
Yeah.
agent, everybody knows that that's happening?
No.
Okay.
Listing agent does.
Listing agent knows, buyer's agents don't know.
Not
So,
until tomorrow. Not until the board takes action
okay,
expressing their interest in the property.
okay. All right, parkland. So are
Yes,
you going to tear the house down and just make it, like, people can park there to get to French Creek? Is that what it's going
And
to
we
be?
walk the trails and fish and have quiet enjoyment of the French Creek.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Who are the current owners?
I can tell you.
I can tell you.
Can't tell?
I don't know, Dave, it's not material to what we're doing, so that's why I can tell you it's not, that I'm not happy. But I don't, Julia, I don't know that it's germane to the question.
Okay. It's, do you know where it is?
No.
Oh, okay, when you're coming off of Pewtown Road, it's the first house on the right.
May I remind you that questions are asked of the board, not
Yes.
of other audience people.
Yes,
So
she can tell you that.
take Pewtown Road to the bridge over to Olsenowski's, it's the first property when you get on dirt, French Creek Road. It's up against the street. Any other questions, sir?
So I didn't quite hear you, Barry Deliberate, 1012 Pottstown Pike, Chester Springs. I didn't quite hear what you said there. It was asked if it was being, did you say purchased?
Yeah,
And the answer was what exactly?
Yes. Yes.
It is being purchased.
Yes.
So if, do you have a budget on this? Or if they don't accept your offer, it's done, you're done, right? It's,
One step at a time.
well, I'm
We
looking
made
at intent. Okay, so
We
it's
will
going
make
to
an
plan
offer.
B.
We will make an offer.
Mhm.
We'll find out if it's acceptable to all parties, and if it is not, the board will have further discussion.
So if it isn't, they'll have further discussion. So it could lead to other things?
I'm sorry?
It could lead to other things then, so.
I don't know. Depends on what the board decides.
I didn't ask if you don't. So it could lead to other things. Is it yes or no? So if they say, no, we have a better offer, it could lead to other things.
Good.
But eminent domain is not part of what would be on the table.
All the options are on the table.
So eminent domain is on the table.
We are anticipating
What would you call it, direct
a
purchase?
direct purchase from all parties and not taking the eminent domain into consideration.
But if not, more aggressive
We have to
techniques
tell-
would be
We will
used.
tell both parties that we have that ability.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's on record. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments? Call the vote. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. On the fence? So are you abstaining or are you voting no?
I'd like to abstain till.
Cannot
the
abstain.
workout goes through, if that's possible.
Sarah, excuse me,
Am I allowed to do that?
you can't abstain.
You can't abstain.
Because he's,
No, she has no interest in transaction, therefore we need to make a decision.
okay, then you can't abstain. Does that mean you're going to vote for it or against it?
I feel I would vote against it right now.
I think this is the one chance you're going to get something. Okay, so 2-1, the resolution passes. So the funny part of what we invited you here for tonight is to hear from Ed Thurkoff and Kelsey Stanton, who's been working on our trail, a master plan for trails in West Vincent. The first phase of that is to identify the current public trails that are meaning available to the public either through easements or ownership or being part of a regional trail system. And later we will go into the part of acquiring the gaps in the trails. And where's Brian tonight? Brian sent us 15 pages of comments today, and after noontime he did acknowledge that he didn't think we'd get to it all today. But anyway, so I'm going to turn this over to Ed Thurkoff, if you're ready.
Ready?
Thank you.
All right. Actually, tonight, you're not listening to us so much as we're going to listen to you.
Is this going to go back?
Yes, you will. If you wouldn't mind.
I'm happy to get out of the way.
I'm going to shut the lights off right
And
now.
I'm going to turn that microphone off. Yes, go ahead.
All right. So as I said, we've done a lot of inventory work on the trail resources that exist in the township that are publicly accessible. So we're here tonight to get your feedback on what we got right in that, and more importantly, what we need to correct on that inventory mapping. And then secondly, where you would like trails to exist that don't currently. Now, keep in mind, this is not a comprehensive map of all trails within West Vincent Township. This is only those trails that have, that are publicly accessible, that are not private trails that you can go on with permission only. So that's kind of the starting point. One of the missions of a trail system is to connect your open space resources and also places where people live and potentially work, like in the area around Ludwig's Corner. So right now, you have 8 township park and open space properties. You've got a couple private preserves, one held by Natural Lands and the other French and Pitt. I thought it was the Land Trust. Critical destinations outside the area are Marsh Creek State Park, Warwick County Park, French Creek State Park, and regional trails. The regional trails include the Horseshoe Trail, which is a predominantly off-road trail that runs from Valley Forge Park to the Appalachian Trail in central Pennsylvania. This is the Brandywine Trail, sorry. The Brandywine Trail connects the Horseshoe Trail to the Struble Trail and then goes southward to Delaware. In West Vincent Township and also in neighboring Upper Euclid, it's almost entirely on paved roads, so you kind of walk alongside the road along a blazed route. It is part of the regional circuit trail network from Downingtown southward towards Delaware, and it is currently maintained by volunteer trail clubs. The second regional trail is the French Creek Trail, which has been worked on by French and Pick and others for a long time. Ultimately, it will go from Phoenixville and the Schuylkill River Trail north and west up to Warwick County Park. And at that point, we'll also connect with the Horseshoe Trail. It follows basically the French Creek and also, for history buffs, the old route of the historic Sow Valley Railroad, which didn't last long but is historically significant. There are a number of gaps along the French Creek Trail that still need to be filled in so that the whole route is possible. Right now, the Phoenixville Regional Planning Committee is working on closing gaps between East Pikeland Township and Schuylkill and Phoenixville to tie into this Schuylkill River Trail. In West Vincent, there are also 3 small gaps that need to be filled, which may also involve cooperation with East Vincent Township. The other significant horseshoe trail I already told you about is the Horseshoe Trail, and you all know about that. It exists primarily on private lands with the permission of landowners through either formal or informal agreements. More recently, the Horseshoe Trail Club has organized into a 501c3 and now has the ability to obtain and hold its own easements. And it also is managed by a club. Local trails exist in the township open spaces, also a large and growing network at Brincoed Preserve, and then on private and homeowners' lands, some of which have easements that were part of subdivision agreements. And then the other aspect of your local trail system is, of course, the dirt roads that you have in the township that are used by everybody for walking, horseback riding, bicycling, etc. So what you see before you on the screen is the same as what we have over in the corner, and that is a map of the existing trail network. Now on the map, existing trails that people can use today are delineated in red on the map. The regional corridors I talked about are highlighted in yellow over the red. And then the other symbol you'll see on the map is a purple dashed symbol. Those are trails that exist as easements, but we found no physical evidence on the ground of those having ever been built or certainly not being used today. So that's a potential there. I think those are the big aspects. We called out some key destinations and locations and road names and things to orient people. So what we'd like to do is engage your help at this point. We have 2 maps, and we'd like you to mark them up, draw on them, put notes on them. We also have notepads if you have more to say about trails. Where do you want to see them? Where do you not want to see them? What are you worried about? What precautions would we have to make if we come up with a plan for future trails in the township? So this is really your turn to inform us before we go and put together a plan for the future. So we look forward to hearing whatever you have to say. Yes. Sarah has something to say?
Kathy made some of these in the back that they wanted to have one of these in their hands. I see some people found this, but
All right, so we're going to gather around these couple tables here, and there's a lot of people here, which is good to see. And yeah, let us know what you think. You can pour over these and ask questions.
I just have a quick question though. You said the red trails are in use right now?
They are trails that we know that people are allowed to go on as members of the public.
Is that walking, biking, and horses, or?
We didn't get into the level of use. Most of them, many of them, I should say, are horse trails. I would think all of them can be walked on. Bicycling, I don't know. I don't know. Some of them, maybe. But we didn't.
There would be no way to know?
We did, well,
I mean, if
there is,
I
but
took
we
that
didn't
map.
look into the question of use at this level.
Gotcha.
So we're really looking at what you guys want. I mean, you can tell us what you want.
I have a question. After we get through this, like tonight, and I say, like, as I mentioned before, I know that on our property, some of them are wrong, and some things, like, one was actually blocked off, and maybe you guys need to go and talk to the property owner and ask why they've blocked off the trail. How long is it before we get to the next step where we have an actual, like a better map, and then proceed to, it's actually going to be something that's probably going to be published. People are going to be able to access it, I would assume, on the internet and things like that. Like, what is our timeline for that?
I would think we're talking a matter of a couple months.
Okay.
It's really going to be up to the board when they're comfortable, with putting something forward for everybody to have that's
Right, and that,
official.
as I say, it will be something that would be available online so that people that are not from the area will be able to access it as well, obviously. I mean, it's got Bryn Co-ed and everything, everybody can go there. Is that how we're planning on getting it out to people? Or is it gonna be, you have to stop by the township building and pick up a copy of the map?
It most certainly will be posted.
Okay, so then a question that I have is, will there be, I mean, obviously, these are public trails, there are easements that are going through private property. Will there be a list of rules that people need to follow as they're walking on these trails?
Yes.
Like they have to say, yes, I agree to not pet someone's horse and not do this and
Yeah,
warn somebody.
We don't have any plans now for waivers or permissions or
Right.
registering, but we do expect, we've already got in our park rules, things that talk about, do we have some separate things for a couple of the parks about respecting private property? We can't, as much as Whitney and I have talked about it and Bill in Parks and Rec meetings, you can't get people to be sensible about horses. So we hope
Right.
that Whitney keeps training us, But what the next phase will be is going to include those actions like the one you identified where we would need to talk to a homeowner who is now blocking a trail that is eased and has been used.
Right.
Those are different than the ones that have been eased and we don't have access to right now. So we will be having, from this effort, prioritization of the efforts we will take to expand the trail network in the township. I think George is the only one here who was way back on the planning commission at the same time I was, but when I moved back to West Vincent 20 years ago, and it was within a year or two after that, I found out that there was a trail plan and the project had blown up because so many people were unhappy with it. So I'd say it's taken us 18 or 20 years to get to this point, and we are going to have a trail map of publicly accessible trails, and we will continue to work to expand that network.
And then one more question on that whole thing. So the trails that aren't eased, or is there a group that has gone out and gone and spoken to each of the property owners to see whether or not they can get them conserved and
Not yet.
eased? Okay.
That's part of this whole project. And Kelsey has done, I think, the ground proofing of many of the trails. She's seen all kinds of parts of West Vincent that maybe Barb Mueller's the only one, Barb's just watching, that Barb is the only one who knows them as well. And so, but that is our intent, like your neighbor who blocked the trail, to say this trail is to be publicly available. You can't block it.
Right.
Then there are others where there's a gap between, there's an eased property and an eased property, and in between is one that is not. Then we have to work with that individual homeowner to see what we can do. And a priority will also undoubtedly go to those parcels along French Creek. I'm not at all happy that West Vincent is holding up that connection. So, is that the end of it for this minute? Right.
For the minute.
Yeah, I think.
For this minute.
Any other questions before Ed gets you up at the, he's got markers and tablets and maps and.
Sarah, is there an overarching kind of like mission statement, or what's trying to be accomplished here?
We are going to have a plan to establish and maintain public trails in West Vincent. Do you need more than that?
And so then are we trying to select or help select which trails are identified and going to be funded, or?
Jim, after you get a chance to look at this map, you'll see the ones that we have identified, either because people have done the easements, or because they're these regional trails, or because some people in the past have permitted the trail use and it's gotten formalized. But right now, these are the ones that essentially are legal trails. So that if you went on one of those other trails, you may well be trespassing. There are people who think our pipelines are public trails. They are not. They're on private property. So if you made the assumption that a pipeline was a trail, it might be in a few segments, but most of it is private property. So that's what we're trying to do, is tell you where it's okay for you to hike without worrying about trespassing. Karis?
Along those lines, I'm wondering if there's a budget within the Park and Rec Committee for signage. Because it is, it's one thing to look at this on a map, which even I, who knows West Vincent pretty well, am still trying to puzzle out exactly where all of these trails are.
It'll be easier on the big ones.
But nevertheless, for the general public,
we are aware of the need for signage.
yeah.
And one of them is going to be respect private property and stay on the trail. But we don't want to have to put that on every trail, because that would blow a budget. But right now, we have a general fund to do a whole variety of things. There is not a Parks and Rec budget for signage.
And
it's the same, she's looking puzzled. It's the same thing that would put up a handicap parking spot or replace a no parking sign that got knocked over.
I mean, if this is a listening session and you're looking for feedback from the public, I would think for the general public, the vast majority of whom are not able to be here tonight, but may still be interested in accessing these trails, having some kind of signage is really important. Because otherwise, the burden falls on the citizen to track down the information, many of whom
As I
don't
said,
do that.
as I
or-
said,
or
the
it's-
map
or
will
it's
be,
word- Or it's word of mouth.
it will be posted on
On
the
the
website. It will be
website.
public.
Okay.
And the chief's asked for a copy in his office. I'm sure we can put one in a few other places around, but we can, when you look at how many trails there are and how many trails there are through or around subdivisions, some of which are private to the HOA, many of which are eased for public, but the HOA is not recognizing that right now. There's a lot of work to do once we get everything mapped. But putting signs on every trail, I would have to vote against that, because,
Because it would break the budget?
no, it's not, but it is I'm not worried about breaking the budget. I'm just saying that would be too many signs.
I mean, the horseshoe trail is already signposted all the way through the township.
Right, and I'm
And,
aware of Horseshoe
And the
Trail,
Brandywine Trail
Right.
is blazed,
but
and the
there's a
French
lot of
Creek Trail will be
I'm
marked.
looking at the red lines on
Yeah.
this map, which are apparently established legal trails at this time, and many of which I have no idea about. And I've been in this area 25 years, and I know it very well.
But that's why you came tonight, right?
Yeah,
To learn more.
I think this is the first step. We're not even sure that we've identified everything yet, so we
Right.
can't really talk about how we're going to take care of the trails or manage them or post signage or blaze them until we've identified.
Yeah, and you probably saw one of our frequently requested signs on Facebook today, which is the triangular sign that has a horse and a car, a walker and a horse and a bicycle. And it indicates that the walker and the bicycle yield to the horse and the bicycle yields to the person. So every time there's a meeting, Whitney, tell your mama I mentioned it. We get this a lot, and it's on our list of signage that we need. Parks and Rec had a small group working on what kind of signage we needed, but we've sort of overcome that by doing this project. Come on up, Jim, we got lots of seats up front.
Well, Sarah, that poses the question, are we restricting usage of these that some can only be for pedestrians and horses? That again, putting
If
that
it's
ahead of,
I believe there are so few trails that will be bicycle-friendly trails that we may mark that instead of marking every trail with no bicycles. But I don't know yet. We'll get some advice. I'm sorry, I'm taking up your time. Go play, oh, George.
Can we post a PDF of this so we can?
You missed, you got here late. We said we will post a PDF of the map tomorrow. Or I
Okay.
said that on Facebook.
Okay, because it's hard to see here.
I'm going to propose we move this backstation up front so that we
Okay,
don't jostle
just pull
everything.
that chair, pull that table this way.
It's not?
I can send you
I
the
can send it
PDF.
to you.
I brought it up on my laptop. couldn't use it.
It's not the one.
And I
This
know
is not the
where
one
it
that Brian.
Yeah, I know the trails, and I can't.
It's not the one Brian sent.
Yeah.
But he's scanning this.